Alright, this is Miss Powell, and I'm going to be going over rounding decimals and comparing decimals. Now, first, before we get to rounding decimals, be sure that you've already watched your place value video. It's another instructional video by Coach High, and he kind of goes over the place value decimals. So just to recap, we've got the tenths on the other side of the ones, tenths, hundreds, and the decimals go from tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, and etc. So if we had 6 for the ones and 12, the 2 is in the hundredths place and the 1 is in the tenths place. This is something that you need to refer to in the video before we get going. Alright, so there's 5 steps to rounding decimals. Now we're going to go ahead and start with the first one. It says box the number in the place value that you were rounding. Okay. Step 2. Draw an arrow from the boxed number to its neighbor on the right. Step 3. You need to ask yourself, is this number 5 or higher? If it is 5 or higher, then you're going to be pumping it up. Pump, pump, pump it up. And if not, you're going to pump it down. The last one is truncate, which means to clear out, put the zeros at the end, and that's basically the 5 steps. So go ahead and pause the video and write down these 5 steps for rounding decimals. Okay, now we're going to move on. Using our 5 steps, let's round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so step 1 says round or box the number in the place value that you are rounding. Okay, so it says round to the nearest tenth. Well, this is the 10th place. Okay, so I'm going to box the number that we're rounding. Number 2, draw an arrow from the boxed number to its neighbor on the right. So we're going to draw our arrow from the boxed number to its neighbor on the right. That's the right. Okay, so the next step is to ask ourselves if this number is 5 or higher. Yes, 6 is higher than 5. Therefore, we're going to be pumping it up. So we're going to pump it up to 5. So we're going to get 765.5 because this is the number we're rounding, right? So the last step is to truncate. Truncate means to clear these out of zeros. After this, you just want to have zeros. You don't need to be keeping the 6 and 7 because we rounded. So we're going to clear it up with some zeros, and that would be your answer. Okay, let's try this one. 6.943. Round to the nearest hundredth. Well, step 1 says to box the number in the place value that you're rounding. Okay, we're rounding to the hundredth. Tenth, hundredth. Okay, got it. The next step says to draw an arrow from that box number to its neighbor on the right. Okay, so 3. Is 3 5 or higher? No, it is not. Therefore, we're not going to be pumping it up, right? We're just going to keep it at 4. So we get 6.94, and then we're going to truncate some zeros. And that's your answer. Alright, now we're going to move on to comparing. You must remember your 3 signs. You got both your less than and greater than and your equal sign. There's less steps to this one. We only have 3. It's easy, right? It's a thumbs up. We got steps to comparing decimals. Number 1, ignore the decimal. Treat it as a whole number. It makes it 10 times easier, right? We're going to add any zeros to equal out the numbers. We'll explain this more in a second. And number 3, start from left to right when you're comparing. Go ahead and pause the video and write down these 3 steps. Alright, so once you've got these 3 steps down, we're going to actually go ahead and try this problem. Step 1, ignore the decimal. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite this. I'm going to ignore the decimal. 7, 6, 3, 4. Keep my box. 7, 6, 4, 5. My next step is to add any zeros to equal out the numbers. Well, They're all equal. We have the same amount of numbers, so we're fine with that. And then we're going to start from left to right. 7 is the same as 7. And 6 is the same. We're going to go to the next place. We've got a 3 and a 4. Well, since 4 is higher, this is going to be the bigger number, right? So we're going to draw our sign facing the greater than number. And then you can go ahead and rewrite your decimals, keeping that sign. So we know that this number is bigger. Okay, we can try this one. Okay, step 1 is to ignore the decimals. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this without the decimals. Okay, the next step is to add any zeros to equal out the numbers. Well, we have 4 numbers here and only 3 here, so I'm going to add a 0 at the end of this one to even it out. So we have 1 number for each to compare as we go down. We're going to start left to right when comparing. 4s are the same, 5s are the same, 6s are the same, and good thing we put the 0, 0 and 4. Well, 4 is bigger, so I'm going to face it this way. We can go ahead and rewrite it with our decimals. And that's how we do it.